Good afternoon and welcome to the Way to Wow show, People Making Money. Once again, my computer does its weird thing that it does. Letting me know it's going live. We are live as always here on Wednesdays, 12:30 p.m. Pacific, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, an hour in for Central and Mountain, as I see my little dip in, right? And I just want to, before I introduce today's guest, I want to mention last week. Last week, my guest was Norm Mitchell. Norm has a financial services company. He was an Army veteran who then transitioned into financial services, has become very successful. And he talks about how, he came to that point in his life where it was probably going to be like prison and all of that, or it was going to be success, and how he met that challenge and dealt with it and got to where he is today, where he spends his time helping everyday people like you and us gain some financial stability and financial success, while also he and his wife, they're traveling all the time. I see messages from him. We're in this place and that place and all over, at least all over the United States. So I invite you to go to our YouTube channel and check out the last week's episode with Norm. And as always, if you have any questions, my contact information is there. And I believe I put a link to Norm's as well. He's happy to answer any questions that you have. So this week, I am super excited to bring to you Anna Rooke. Anna and I have known each other for several years now, and we've been trying to connect to have her on the show for, gosh, I think at least a couple of years, and it's sort of been, going like this. And so we finally have Anna here on the show. So Anna, first of all, welcome to the Way to Wow, People Making Money. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I know it's been a long time coming, so super excited to be here.
Yeah, so just in point of introduction, because I'm going to let Anna talk about her background and such. I met Anna when I first started attending a health optimization group called Next Health. She was working there, and I would see her periodically, and then one day she disappeared. And I talked to one of her colleagues. He said, Anna is off pursuing her own entrepreneurial wellness venture, and so I reconnected with Anna, and she was and I'm not sure if this is still what you call your venture, but she was doing something she called gratitude in food, which I think almost everybody can relate to both of those as being very important in our lives, especially for our well-being. And I've watched Anna's venture grow over the succeeding years, and like Norm that I mentioned a minute ago, I see her traveling seems like all over the place. So I think you'll be very interested to hear about how all of this developed. This is really someone who has built her profession, really from the ground up. I don't think you come from a family of people who travel the world, entrepreneurs and such, right?
No, I actually started traveling right before I started college, and that was like the first bit of travel that I experienced. So growing up, actually, so I'm from Los Angeles, and my dad was more entrepreneurial. He had a bakery, and he kind of taught me like what hard work is from a really young age, because he would be working in the bakery some nights till like 2 or 3 a.m., would get home for a few hours, would be there right back in the morning. So he really taught me about like owning your own business and being an entrepreneur. But I started my health journey actually in 2013. My dad was diagnosed with lung cancer. And that was one of the first times that I ever like experienced someone so close to me that sick.
Mhm.
And I started looking into holistic remedies, and that's how I discovered sea moss gel, which is the main product in my company, Akasha Superfoods.
Mhm.
And I found that as a way to get mucus out of the body and help clear out the lungs. But unfortunately, there weren't any good, high quality sources of sea moss in the United States. People are using it in Chinese medicine and in the Caribbean for thousands of years, but it wasn't available here. And so I kind of always kept it in the back of my head. But that's what kind of started my journey into health and wellness. And I learned about juicing and smoothies and just high quality food
Mhm.
and biohacking. And I got really into, cryotherapy, infrared sauna, like everything that Next Health has.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, my dad did pass away. And my mom also got very into holistic health as well around the same time. So that was very supportive. And from there, I went to college and continued learning about health. And I studied food studies in college. That was my minor. And I majored in psychology. And then after graduating, I worked at Next Health. And then I met Alex, who was the nurse at Next Health. And we both shared a love of superfoods. And COVID hit. We just had a lot of downtime. And I started talking with him about sea moss gel.
Mhm.
And then he was interested in it too. He had been using it, and we wanted to become the first retailers on the shelf to have sea moss, and a high quality one that we could trust. So that's how we essentially, long story short, started Akasha Superfoods. And I had actually started Gratitude and Food my freshman year of college as like an outlet on Instagram to be able to share my meals in college. I
Mhm.
was vegan at the time, so that was kind of like how I was sharing my journey with everyone else, like to see if anyone could relate or if I could connect with people that were also in a similar boat as me.
So let's take a little bit of a step back.
Yeah.
Um, you said you went to college and studied psychology and food. So first of all, where did you go to college? I have a personal interest in this because my daughter is interested in herbal remedies and that sort of. She's done quite a bit of research on it over the last year or two. And so, where did you go to college that gave you the opportunity to do that kind of dual track?
That's
Uh,
incredible that she's interested in that. So I went to UCLA,
oh,
and
okay.
I started off studying economics and just realized it wasn't for me, and then got into psychology and found out they had a food studies minor. And the food studies minor more so was about availability of food. We learned a lot about food deserts and then about how our soil has changed over the last, many years, how it's not as nutrient dense, how our modern agriculture system just isn't working out, even though it's able to supply as much food as it is.
Mhm.
It is messing with our food, and we aren't getting as many nutrients as we used to.
So this is something that one of your colleagues at Next Health used to tell me about. So and my understanding is even with organic farming and those other kind more sort of back to how things were kind of farming, there's still this whole sort of nutrient deficiency in food these days. And my understanding is it's pretty dramatic. Would you just expand on that for a minute, just so people can be aware of what that issue is about?
Yeah, it is pretty dramatic. Just over farming and people farming in the same ways, the same places. They're not like spacing it out, or I feel like ever since the Industrial Revolution, that's when it kind of started, and there's a lot less like small farms. That's why it's so important to shop at the farmers market,
Mhm.
because when you are getting your produce from the farmers market, it does look significantly different than it does in the grocery store.
Mhm.
And there's an incredible amount of waste too, because it's like for grocery stores, they throw out everything that, has a bruise that's like slightly deformed.
Mhm.
So it is really important to like support your local farmers. And I feel like the produce there is higher quality if you have that available to you. That is the best option. But yeah, they've really, because of these modern agriculture systems, like our soils are so stripped of minerals and nutrients, and that's what the food is growing in. So it's less nutrient dense overall, which is probably why there has been such a high spike in like supplements. People can taking supplements because they aren't getting enough, iron, B12, like all these different vitamins that they used to be fine with before.
So I actually get a large portion of the fruits and vegetables I eat from imperfect produce, and you get these sort of weird looking things, that the
Right.
grocery stores won't sell. I mean, they taste fine, they just look
Yeah.
strange, right? Potatoes that are kind of bent over and stuff.
I
So,
love imperfect produce. They have
yeah,
such an amazing mission.
they are, and it's super convenient. Every other week, I get my box, delivered on my doorstep, and there it is. So,
Yeah, they're
okay,
great.
so you got through college, and then out of college, so you've got your psychology degree, and how did you then connect up with the folks at Next Health? Where was that where was that connection made to get that first kind of intro into wellness? And also, if you would talk a little bit about Next Health's perspective on health, because I think it's interesting, and it very much ties into your journey.
Yeah, definitely. Great question. So the transition out of college was probably one of the most difficult transitions because here you are, you graduate from college and everyone just expects you to get a job. You're all of a sudden on your own, and it's confusing, especially because all of these jobs want, all of these different qualifications. I'm like, I don't have 3 years of experience doing XYZ. So it's definitely a challenging time trying to find a job. I probably applied to over 100 jobs, had multiple interviews, so many no's.
Wow.
And Next Health was my first yes. And I had actually worked across the street at Sun Life Organics, which we now sell our products to. And Sun Life, I worked there for about a year and 8 months while I was in college, and I learned so much more about health and wellness, all the different superfoods they use in their smoothies. I loved working with them. And I used to do cryotherapy at Next Health, and I always thought, wow, these people are so cool that work here. This is such an amazing job. And then the fact that I actually got a yes from them was incredible. And I love Next Health because their whole mission is longevity focused and life optimization. So many people, they might be living for a long time, but are they healthy? Are you living a life full of vitality? Are you just living, going through the motions every single day, just feeling like shit every single day? Or do you feel really good? And do you feel energized? And so Next Health is all about, feeling your mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of every single cell, and just giving your body tons of energy and doing that through different ways, especially since today we're faced with many like environmental toxins and stresses and environmental stressors, and just daily life. So it is important to be able to do these kind of biohacking things if you have that available. And that's why I really liked Next Health, is because I was very aligned with, their mission of living a life of vitality and longevity.
Yeah, I mean, and for various reasons, I'm not with Next Health right now, but it was an incredibly positive atmosphere to be in Next Health, and that was one of the things that I appreciated most about it. Is it wasn't like you see these, I don't know, Peloton commercials where like the person's like, come on, you're lazy. Because it was not like that at all. It was really much more of, the kind of incremental improvements that we all need to be making, step by step, which I think is much more realistic and much more sustainable. And in those kinds of life-changing processes, I find that is a much better way to go than to try and make these big dramatic shifts that we hang on to them for a few months, and then it's just too much, so I'm gonna forget it, I'm not going to do it, and we go back to our old ways.
Definitely. And it really is all of those small changes that you make every single day, or the small things that you do that really, make a huge impact later on. Have you read the book Atomic Habits?
No, I haven't.
Okay, it talks a lot about how like small things that you do really just like add up and they make the biggest impact, like in your business and your life and everything that you do.
So that's and I'm wondering if it's there's a book I read a number of years ago now called
Mhm.
Practice Perfect.
Hmm.
And it had a really interesting idea to it, because we've all heard the old adage, practice makes perfect. And what they
Mhm.
found is, indeed, what practice does is it just keeps us doing whatever it is we're doing. And it can ingrain bad habits as easily as good habits, right? So the
Right.
key is to find these small ways to better our lives and practice them diligently to make them, to habitualize them, right? But to do them as well as possible, because that's actually where improvement comes. He talks about, I think they talk about like Michael Jordan or whatever. He would do these things like thousands and thousands of times to improve them, to get them ever more, ever closer to perfect. And that's really what makes the difference. But it was all those little things. So what is it called again?
Atomic Habits.
Atomic Habits. Okay, I'll have to check that
Yeah.
out.
I have to check
So
out the book you just mentioned too. What was
yeah,
it?
yeah. It's called I think it's called Practice Perfect.
Practice Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, I don't recall I think one of the authors' names is Larry somebody, if I remember correctly. For those of you who are watching, I'll put links to these books in the show notes after the show posts, so you can check them out if you'd like. And I'll send you the name of the book after we're done.
Thank you.
So you mentioned you started Gratitude and Food while you were in college to share the meals that you were doing, but you've actually built quite a following. So how did you do that? Because a lot of people, I think, would love to have a tenth of the following you've got on Instagram.
Oh,
But
thank you.
it's quite impressive. So how did all that come together?
Thank you. I don't know, I just started sharing what I was doing and I realized it was really inspiring other people and I was following other people in the food space, in the holistic space, and started just becoming inspired by them and connecting with other people. And I've actually formed like a pretty amazing community in Los Angeles. Most of my friends are in like the health and wellness space, and I met them on Instagram actually, which is really, really cool. And like truly using social media in the best way possible. But yeah, I just started being consistent and I was posting recipes almost every single day. I remember in college, I was kind of treating it as like a side job. And I would think of like at the beginning of the week, I would write down and think of each recipe that I was going to make. And it was very recipe focused. And now it's more so like recipe and lifestyle, because I'm realizing like life, there's so much more to life than just food. And I was so focused on food for a while. So now it's more so like food, mindset, healthy living. And then also I'm co-hosting retreats. So I'm posting like more traveling and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. So where do you think the focus on food came from, that kind of initial inspiration?
That was kind of the first thing that I got into in terms of health and wellness. I was already exercising. I've been so active as a kid. I started playing tennis when I was like 4 years old. So that's
Oh,
never been something like exercise has always been a part of my life, whereas food wasn't. I was eating like I was just eating very I had no idea what I was eating most meals, just very unhealthy. I would eat fast food so often as a child and even leading up to being in middle school and high school. And then that's when I started like really looking at what I was eating and I became so passionate about like, just like food as fuel and
mhm.
food as nourishment and truly like the fuel for everything you do in life. And I realized like when I started eating better, I started feeling better. I started being able to focus more. I didn't drink any caffeine my entire time in college. which
Wow.
most people are drinking, 5, 6 cups of coffee a day, depending on. And I was like one of the only people I knew that didn't drink any coffee, but I was making all different kinds of tonics and just, yeah, it was pretty like strict about what I was eating. Today I'm less strict about it. I'm more so just focused on quality. Um, but yeah, that's how I really got into food.
Yeah, I mean, I went to architecture school where, routinely we would do all-nighters, and coffee and Coca-Cola was how we got through. I mean, how I didn't, completely rot out my system, I don't know. And then in my early 20s, I realized I was having trouble sleeping, and I stopped drinking anything with caffeine in it. And it solved a large part of my sleeping problems. It's amazing how powerful caffeine is. And now once in a while I'll order a cup of decaf, and it'll have some, and they have some residue of caffeine in it or something, and it literally makes me sick for at least
Wow.
a day or two. That's how sensitive I am to caffeine now. And I think, for people who use it regularly, they don't appreciate just how stimulative caffeine is. And there's other stuff that can make us, feel vibrant, that doesn't, and I'm not like this, oh, never drink caffeine. I don't mean that at all, but there is other stuff that I think can make us feel vibrant that doesn't involve caffeine, which seems to the sort of go-to thing.
Definitely. And I feel like the issue is the abusing of caffeine. It's like getting multiple cups of coffee a day plus an energy drink. I think everything in moderation. I mean, not everything, but most things in moderation are okay. Like, especially if you're very conscious of it and intentional. If like your cup of coffee in your morning is your way to have time alone and you just focus on that, like you don't need it to live. You're
Yeah.
not dependent on it. I think that it's fine, but I think it's just the way that we've kind of normalized hustle culture so much. Just
Mhm.
work as hard as you can, sleep less, and you can just get through your day with caffeine. I just don't. It's not sustainable in the long run. Our bodies, that's why we have so much like disease and illness.
Absolutely. My daughter goes to high school. I was at a PTSA meeting maybe about a month ago now, and they have, the district that she's in has a wellness committee that deals with wellness issues in the schools. And it's interesting because they were talking about diet and exercise quite a bit at the meeting. And afterwards, the fellow comes on, I kind of pulled him aside. I said, hey, what about sleep? I said, we're talking about teenagers who probably have some of the worst sleep habits of any human beings on the planet. And they're also setting their patterns for the rest of their life, starting in their teen years. And he says, yeah, he says, I know sleep is important, but I don't know, we just don't really deal with it. And I'm like, wow.
Right? Is like one of the most fundamental things of health, and it's probably what most people should look at first when they're looking to get healthy, especially today. I feel like so many kids and even adults, like we're looking at our phones so much and all that blue light, especially before bed. I'm sure kids are scrolling on TikTok before bed, and that just completely disrupts sleep. And who knows how high quality your sleep you're actually getting, how many hours you're really
Yeah.
getting, and that's when our bodies really have to recover. So you bring
Yeah.
up such a great point.
Yeah. I mean, Michael Bruce, I don't know if you know him, he was the one who referred me to Next Health. So he helped develop the Aura Ring, and it's my sort of go-to thing. So, each morning when I get up, I look, what was my sleep quality? And I do find it's pretty accurate. If it says I didn't have good sleep, maybe now it's like a Pavlov reaction,
Yeah.
but I do find that when I don't have good sleep according to my aura, by mid-afternoon, I'm dragging. So
I've been meaning to get one of those. I've heard such great things.
yeah. So I mean, if you want, by the way, I can send you a link, and
Mhm.
they'll give you, I think it's $50 off or something because you're referred in.
I would
So
love that. Thank
yeah,
you.
sure. Yeah, you're welcome. Got to spread the word.
Yes. Yes. No, I've heard so many great things about it. And I've often wondered, like, how is my sleep anyway, so that I can make changes, because there's so many things that you can do now to improve your sleep.
Yeah, and I mean they've advanced it. Not this is not a commercial for Aura. I have no financial interest in Aura at all. But they added a new feature, I think about a year ago, that tracks your body temperature. And just to digress for a moment, last week I got run over by a car, and so I'm been in recovery mode. Normally I would be standing for this interview, but I'm actually sitting because I can't stand for very long at all because I have a broken foot now. And I've noticed that mid-afternoon my temperature spikes, and I see it recorded, in the Oura Ring data, because the thermometer I have is not sensitive enough, and I can't be constantly taking my thermometer. So, the Oura Ring, it tracks it, throughout the day. So there's other great, health information that you get from it. They're making it ever more sophisticated. So it's really a terrific wellness device. That's how I look at it, as it helps me focus on my wellness throughout the day. So
right, it allows you to actually see results and be able to track it.
Yeah,
which is so important. I'm so sorry about that. That's
thanks. Fortunately, it happened in Beverly Hills, where emergency services are they get there within 3 minutes, and they were there within literally 2.5 minutes. The paramedics were there. So
that's so scary. I'm so glad that you're okay.
Yeah, I was out there exercising, and it was raining and kind of dark, and I think I feel bad for the driver. I don't think he hit me on purpose. I think he probably just didn't see me, and I didn't see him, and he was freaked out. He got out of his car. It turns out I think he was a doctor, because the next thing I know, my head's in his lap. He's checking me for broken bones.
Oh my God.
He's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I'm like, "I don't know." So,
oh my gosh.
Paramedics lift me into their unit, and I'm like trying to crack jokes so I don't, break down.
Right.
But they were great.
So best case scenario, even out of worst case.
So let's move on now. You're doing gratitude and food. You've got this following now, and I will say, and I'll put a link into your Instagram account so people can check that out. But I mean, the first of all, the food you show in your Instagram feed really is amazing looking. It really is just beautiful. And I've seen lately, like you said, you've gone into more lifestyle stuff. So talk to me, if you would, first of all, how you made the transition from just doing gratitude and food into your food company, where you're selling it. Did you say CMOS, was it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, you're going to have to pronounce the name for me, because
yes, Akasha Superfoods.
Akasha Superfoods. So how did you get that go? Oh, there you go. Oh, terrific.
So these are our capsules, and then we actually just launched a facial spray that's absolutely incredible. So this is our new product.
Does it say probiotic on the facial?
It's a prebiotic. So it feeds the good bacteria on the skin. So it essentially helps build up a skin microbiome and to build a strong skin barrier. Because today we're using so many products and different acids, chemical peels, all these harsh facial products that are completely destroying our skin microbiome. And this is actually pretty much the only product that I use every single day. I don't wear any makeup, and I just use the prebiotic skin mist and then a little jojoba oil, and that's it. And it's so clean, you could literally drink it. All the ingredients are super, super clean in it. We use a kelp alkaloid, which is the prebiotic. So it's an extraction from sea kelp. And there's this app called Yuka, Yuka, and you can scan. Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't.
You can scan different beauty products and health food products in your house, and it'll give you a rating of essentially it'll point out which ingredients are bad or which ones are good, and different chemicals in your skincare products. And we actually just received a score of 100 out of 100 on this, which is amazing. So yeah, it's truly extremely clean. And I discovered it actually when I was in St. Lucia at our CMOS farm. and over summer.
Wow.
So that's where we get our sea moss from. And we were at the farm and we were staying at this Airbnb that was all open. I had no idea it was going to be all open, and the mosquitoes were ruthless. We were just getting eaten alive. I had mosquito bites all over my entire body, and I had all this natural bug repellent. Like, I don't use anything with chemicals. And my business coach, Lauren, she was on the trip with us. She was like, "You have to try this spray that I sent you over a year ago," because she's the product developer of the spray along with this biochemist. And I tried it, and it was the only thing that gave me relief, and it started healing the bites.
Wow.
And while we were on the trip, I was like, we have to develop this product under Akasha. How is this not being sold? All of these things. So yeah, we got it. We've just brought it to market. It's a truly incredible product. And we did a 90-day independent skincare trial with people, burn victims, eczema, psoriasis, acne. And these people had incredible results just in 30, 60, and 90 days. So we have that all on our website as well. Sorry, that was a total tangent away from
No, not at all. That's fantastic. I'm going to be buying that product because unfortunately I get eczema, and it is just the worst getting rid of it.
If you spray this on your eczema 2 to 3 times a day, you'll notice over a couple weeks it will start to peel and then completely heal.
Wow.
It's absolutely incredible. I know it sounds like sounds like it's very like too promising, almost too good to be true, but you just have to use it very consistently.
So what's so interesting is a lot of these healing products, I wonder if they existed 200 years ago, right? And we're lost, right? And now we're rediscovering the healing processes of so many things that are so much better for us than, whatever it is we might, put on our bodies. So, and it sounds like that's very much about what is Akasha?
Akasha Superfoods.
It sounds very much like that's what Akasha is about. Am I on the right track there, or?
That is correct. We are an ocean-based, so there's plant-based, animal-based. We're an ocean-based superfood company, and we're more so focused on nutrients and helping replenish the body of nutrients that are lost in our soil. So we get them from the ocean, which is why our main product is sea moss. And then we also have other products like the sea kelp, which is very abundant in nature. There's so much of it. So we can use like the power of the ocean to heal ourselves. And I think you bring up a really great point, because I feel like it's not that we used to not have any issues years ago. It's just, it was a completely different time. I feel like there were so many different factors. Like today, we're just being bombarded with technology. And I feel like there's way more stress in our lives than ever before. The environment, there's so many different, it's just a completely different time. And I was talking about this with my friends last night at dinner. I grew up and we had to plug our computer, like to get Wi-Fi, we had to plug it into it with an Ethernet cable. And then it would still take forever to load. And then how do we have these phones that now load everything in a quarter of a second so fast? Like our bodies haven't even adapted to be able to take on that technology. So I feel like that's even a threat to our health. It has to be.
I think so. I sometimes wonder, because now we're talking about AI and machine learning and all these things that can advance technology even more rapidly, perhaps, than human beings can. And I wonder, how are we going to keep up with all of this? It's mind-boggling. I mean, when I grew up, there was no internet, there were no personal computers. When I went to high school, so we had a computer science class. We had to use cards, like punch cards. That's what and we learned a little bit of BASIC, which was the computer language that was around then. And my dad took me on a tour of his workplace, and they had a computer there. It was literally an entire room, and that computer in that entire room probably did a fraction of what you could do on a cell phone today, right? So
Right.
it's just, it seems so overwhelming. um I don't know how we're gonna, and I look at my daughter. She was born right when the iPhone, just before, just after the iPhone came to market, right? She knows nothing other than essentially wireless, technology. So she's used to it, and I watch her manipulate it, and I'm just amazed that she can do it, but she grew up with it.
Yeah.
But eventually it'll hit some level where she'll be like me with respect to the current technology, I assume. So I don't know. It's a really, I think, difficult challenge for humanity to deal with.
Definitely. Yeah, no, it's like, how are our bodies going to adapt? And also, I mean, how is it affecting younger generations too in school with AI too? It's all just, there's so much to unpack there.
So if I can, I think there's, a lot of people would love to do what you've done. They have an
Mhm.
idea for how to make life better. And they get stuck. Like, how do I, where do I find, the startup funds? Where do I find the people I need to work with? Where do I find, like I think you mentioned you have a farm in St. Lucia. Was that it? Right?
Mhm.
How did you find all of these resources that you put together to form Akasha and make your business a reality?
Yeah, so I would say it's many things. So I fully believe in manifestation and really just putting it out there what you want. And so I visualize these things. I'm focused on them. I feel like my vision is so strong of like helping as many people as possible with their health, whether that's through my products or just inspiring people to even like change their mindset or even just get outside more. So I feel like I'm very like connected with my vision and like what I want and what I see for myself and what I see for other people. And I feel like that's really what keeps me going. And I feel like because that's where my intentions are, I've been able to attract certain people in my life that have gotten me to where I am. Um, so say like I started working at Next Health and met Alex, who's also very aligned with pretty much everything that I am in terms of health and wellness and business and living with integrity and creating a business built upon that. And so I feel like I attracted him into my life and he wanted to start a business with someone else as well. And then I connected with my CMOS farmer through a family friend who worked at Erewhon, who had a roommate who had family in St. Lucia. And I was telling him about it, and he's like, "Oh, I'll connect you with my roommate." And immediately the next day, I was on the phone with two different farmers in St. Lucia. Went with one who I completely trusted. So I feel like it's just I've been putting myself out there so much, but
Mhm.
also very like intentionally and knowing what I want in a sense.
Mhm.
And I've been able to like attract these relationships. We pretty much started with no money and was very ignorant. I knew nothing about the food space. I didn't study business, just started learning one thing after the other. And I would say that my best advice is just to start somewhere. We started our first label we made in Canva, the free version. We didn't even have the premium version. We had them printed locally. We were printing like 200 labels at a time, just with whatever we could work with, we were making it work. And we just kept putting in the work and we're continuously being consistent and going to as many wellness events as possible, connecting with other people in the space. And then eventually it just started to take off. So I think that as long as you just have the right intentions and you stay consistent and you really have something that keeps you going, something that's so strong and meaningful to you, then I think that you will be perfectly fine if you're looking to start a business.
So you are absolutely the best follow-up guest I could have today, because I do another show on Tuesdays called Business Lessons from the Military, where I take things that you can learn from military doctrine or like historic military texts, etc. And the three principles I talked about, it comes from of all things Marine Corps warfighting doctrine,
Mhm.
and I convert it for business use, is clarity, self-knowledge, and knowledge of the competition. And what I'm hearing from you is you have extremely good clarity on what it is that you want to accomplish. And
Mhm.
with that clarity, which comes from self-knowledge, who I am and what I want to be in this world, the integral person I want to be, you become like a magnet for all the things that you need to make this happen.
Yes, you just said that perfectly. I swear, I don't even believe in synchronicities anymore. It's like I almost expect these things to happen because I'm living so in alignment with with myself and with what I want to do that it's just it's magnetic. It really is.
So um so you put together these products,
Mhm.
and then how did you work out the distribution channels for them so that people can actually buy them, right? Because in the end, in order to be useful, we have to make what we're doing available to as many people as possible. How'd you work that
Right.
out?
So Alex and I first started actually making stuff just in my kitchen in my house, and I started selling just through Instagram direct messages. CMOS back in 2020, still a lot of people had no idea what it was. People still have no idea today. It's still very new. And so I was driving around Los Angeles, just dropping jars off at people's houses, and they were Venmoing me. So it was very it was just completely different. And then we applied to Air Market online in August, didn't hear back until December, found out we got accepted into Air, and we were like, wow, this is my biggest dream
Yeah.
ever came true. And so then we were like, all right, we have to move out of my kitchen and move into a commercial kitchen because we need the licenses and the permits and etc. So we were both working at Next Health still, and we started making the product in the commercial kitchen, sometimes till almost 2 a.m. Would then go back home, wake up super early. By 6 a.m., we'd start doing the deliveries to all the Air markets in LA because we were hand delivering it.
Wow.
Yeah, so that went on for about 3 months and it started to pick up. We started gaining some traction on social media. And I would say that part of it is because I've formed so many amazing relationships with people in the health food space and other influencers. So it's been really, I've had so much support.
Mhm.
And I really wouldn't be here today without them in terms of where the business is. And so then we started reaching out to different co-packers, reached out to so many. No one wanted anything to do with our product because it's so weird and it's so labor intensive. There's
Uh-huh.
so much washing involved. You're using this like moss and
Mhm.
it's so much washing, so much blending. We finally got one yes from someone. So they're up in Northern California and we've been having our product made there for about a year and a half now, almost 2 years. And we have it brought down on a freight every week and dropped off at a distributor. Our main challenge right now is our shelf life, which we are moving into a different form of CMOS that we will be using instead of the gel, since we have a 42-day shelf life currently. But it is a raw product, so it could go bad sooner, it could last longer. It really is just pretty unpredictable. So I've learned every single one of these steps along the way. I had no idea how distribution worked. I didn't know that retail stores take as much percentage as they do. Um, but yeah, we're in some retail stores across Southern California, and then you can find all of our products online too.
Okay. And we'll post your website again in the show notes so people can check that out.
Thank
So
you.
so I mean, Erewhon is sort of the the Tiffany's of the health and wellness markets.
Yeah.
It is to me anyway. I know there's one that's opened up just down the street from my trainer. And I love going in that store. There's always really interesting things there.
Mhm.
Um, what is it like to deal with a major retailer like that. And I'll tell you the reason for the question. So I have a friend who used to manufacture pies. Not health food, by the way. And he was doing really well. And then he got what he thought was sort of the, mecca of orders from Walmart. And Walmart, of course, is huge, and it dramatically increased the size of his business. But as you hear him tell the story now, he'll tell you it was the end of his business, because trying to service this huge account became essentially impossible for him. So what is it now? Of course, Erewhon is not, Walmart. So what is it like to deal with, a retailer like that?
I totally understand how that happened, because I've even noticed we got a large order from a store in Texas, actually, that our product wasn't able to remain cold enough for them to receive it. So all that product had to go to waste, especially with the perishable product like a pie or a gel. It is difficult because there is only a short selling window for the product. Overall, like, Erewhon's been amazing to communicate with, very easy, but it's the retail space in general that is very challenging, because they do take a large percentage, and people will see the product on the shelf and just say, like, this is so expensive, but they really have no idea how little the profits are.
Right.
It's so little. It's like insulting. But I'm so grateful to be on the shelves of these stores, because that's how people find out about the product. But there really is like very little profit involved. So I understand why the pie situation happened. And it's also, these manufacturing facilities have such high MOQs, where if you don't have the capital to put up for it, then you're not going to be able to purchase any inventory, which you need inventory for your business to sell. And then these distributors pay you out after 60 or 90 days. So you're waiting for payment for a pretty long time. So I'd say, like, lead times, and then the time it takes for the distributor to actually pay you, there can be like very tight cash flow.
And what is an MOQ?
A minimum order quantity. So yeah, some facilities will say, like, our MOQs are 15,000 units or 20,000 units or 100,000 units. And that really is so much money for a company to be putting up that's just a startup.
Right.
So there's a lot that's involved in running a business in the food space and just in general.
Very steep learning curve, I imagine. Yeah.
Oh, I'm learning things every single day. It never ends. My uncle was telling me that I should be going to business school. I was like, I feel like I'm in the best business school right now.
Yeah, with due respect to your uncle, I think, so when I started, I never went to business school. I went to architecture school. And when I started my first company, I made so many mistakes. And I remember one in particular, it was a contract that probably would have made me, and this is back in the mid 80s, I think like $25,000 or something like that, which was a huge amount of money for me. And I made some mistakes and didn't get it. And I was really upset. And then I started thinking about it. It's like, well, that's, I guess, basically a semester at the Wharton Business School, which would not have taught me to avoid that mistake. But now I know to avoid, that mistake. And so it's probably a better value for me than having gone to business school. So I think there is no teacher like actually doing it. And what you said before about you just got to jump in. So I have a friend who says the real motto of people's lives should be just say yes, because we've been in this just say no culture for so long, because of the anti-drug campaigns. But he's his whole career, and he's now a senior medical guy at NASA of all places. In fact, he's in charge of the medical side of the Artemis mission. His philosophy is just say yes, which I think is it's so beautiful. And you are the embodiment really of that philosophy. Well, you and Alex.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to jump right into it without even thinking about it. Because if you think about it too much, you're going to develop too much fear around it. And then by that time, too much time has already passed.
Yeah.
Too. That's even I put on my first retreat with two of my friends actually a couple weeks ago in Bali. And we were debating for like 2 weeks, should we put down the money for the retreat center? Should we do it? Should we do it? Because it's a huge risk. What if we can't find anyone to come on this retreat and we lose all of that money? And we finally just decided to do it. And it was one of the best decisions that I've probably made in the last year, because people had one of the most amazing experiences of their life. And people came on the retreat. People loved it. We already have people wanting to come back for the second one. So it
Wow.
really, yeah, it's amazing what happens when you take the risk and just say yes and just do it anyways.
So we have just a few minutes left, unfortunately, because I feel like we could go on for another hour.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about the retreats, because I think I saw some of the pictures. I think you posted some pictures from it on your Instagram account, but talk about how that fits into, your overall, picture for lifestyle.
Yeah, definitely. So I met these two guys, Jason and Sasha. They own a company in Los Angeles called Motion LA, and they started hosting workouts and wellness experiences during COVID, and they were all outdoors. So it was a way for people to connect, even during a time when there was no connection in person, but it was all outside. So it was safe, and it allowed for multiple people, specifically like entrepreneurs. That's the kind of crowd that it was attracting, was people that just wanted to continue networking and meeting other people.
Mhm.
And so I started going to their workouts and I fell in love with it. And I was just like, it was just my favorite thing to do every single weekend, because I met so many friends there and lots of connections for my business. And we hosted like a friends trip last year in Costa Rica, because we all became really good friends, and people started messaging us and saying, when are you hosting another wellness trip? Even though it was just our friends trip. So then we decided to put one on in Bali. And these trips are different because they're less spirituality focused and more so focused on adventure and just bringing together a group of like-minded people that are interested in fitness and health and just becoming a better version of themselves. So it's less of us telling you what to do, and like there is structure, but it's less of us like preaching something and more so self-discovery for yourself. And whatever you're going into the trip with is what you're going to get out of the trip. But it is like we organized the entire trip, put together the itinerary, and everyone connected very well because everyone's there for the right reasons, for fitness and to better themselves and improve themselves. So yeah, it was an amazing trip. Each day we did some sort of physical activity. So whether it was go to a different gym or do a workout at the retreat center, and then we would do some sort of adventure and see a different part of Bali or the culture, or a different part of the country. So
Wow. Wow.
and that really ties into what I'm doing with Akasha, because it is about helping people feel their best and show them what's possible and live a better life. And also I think it's a great way for other entrepreneurs. Like it's something for them to come on the retreat and kind of get an experience and a reset from like day-to-day life.
hmm hmm
It really is.
I didn't realize just how aligned what I mean, I focus, of course, on people's professional lives, but the
Mhm.
larger thing that I deal with through the three pillars of attainment is very, very much in line with with what you're doing. I had no idea how closely aligned we are. It's fantastic to
So cool.
hear that. Yeah, yeah. To meet a I mean, I always felt kind of an affinity for you and what you're doing, but it's even more so now. Just absolutely fascinating. Well, gosh, unfortunately, the time has just flown away. So, hopefully, I'll have you back, and
Yeah.
you'll be able to update us on how things are going. And offline, I think there's a couple of people I know that you should meet. One of them is a longstanding friend of mine named Craig Noel, who was a guest on a show quite a number of months ago now, I think. And he's in this same space, although I think he's a little bit farther along than you are, and he's been in business for a long time. And I think he might have some some ideas for you that will kind of help you take things to the next level. And he's also in the sort of food and wellness space is really what he's dealing with now. So I'd love to connect you with Craig, and then there's a couple of other people that are sort of rolling around the back of my head whose names aren't coming up that would love to connect you with them, because what you're doing with Akasha, I think, is really fantastic. And I think it's very much where, health and wellness needs to go. We need to be looking for different solutions. So
definitely. Thank you so much, Kevin. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. And before we sign off here, so I just want to reiterate that we are here every Wednesday, 12:30 p.m. Pacific time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, and an hour in for the other two time zones. I can't always promise you a guest who is as glowing as Anna is. She's a perfect advertisement for her own product, because I mean it's unbelievable you're not wearing any makeup.
Thank you. Yeah,
it's absolutely just glowing. But our information will hopefully be as good and as is inspiring. I just want to recount a couple things that we gleaned from talking to Anna today, and one is clarity is so important to your success. And I would argue not just our professional success, but our success in life. If you want to have successful relationships, we need to have real clarity on who we are, what we can offer another person. And hopefully then that person will be inspired to open up to us and give us back the kind of clarity we need about that person to really engage ever more deeply with them. And clarity too in whether it's the spiritual realm or whatever facet of our life is so crucial. And then how Anna reinforced the message that Bob brought to us a few weeks ago. Just get out there and start working on it, right? I mean, the worst thing that happens is you fall on your face and you learn some lessons, you pick yourself up, and you find a better way to do it next time. Some of that boldness, I think, really is necessary, and Anna Anna and her partner Alex are absolute examples of that. And look what she's been able to accomplish. Really, in her way, changing how things are working in this world of ours, which I think we'd all like to have as at least part of our legacy. And then finally, I think, and this is what I perhaps I most admire, is your focus is on helping other people and really responding to what can make their lives better. And again, I think that lesson applies across, whether it's our professional success, our success in relationships, really success in ourselves. If we want to have a firm, clear identity of who we are, a lot of that is going to come from how we're relating to other people and understanding that. So I invite you to share Anna's episode with your friends who, especially if they're kind of struggling with what they want to do, or they think, I want to do a business, but I don't know how to do it. This is a perfect example of how you can be successful and what the fundamental principles are there for you. So Anna, thank you again for coming on. I'm going to sign off, as I always do, by putting it out there for my dear friend who made such an impact in my life, my dear Marie. Darling, you are and ever will be my belle. So thank you all very much for joining us, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you.